Hey Book Dragons, I'm so glad you've joined me today. I'm going to be reviewing Poirot Investigates. This is a collection of short stories featuring the amazing Hercule Poirot. I am so excited to talk about this. This is a bit different than other Agatha Christie stuff I've read before. I have read short story books by her, and this fits within the larger scope of novels about Hercule Poirot, and so it feels a little different. Now, I did a buddy read on this with my friend Mona Lisa over at Mona Lisa Reads. I'll leave her link in the description. You can check out her channel there. I was kind of on the fence about whether to read this in between the other Poirot novels that we've been reading, but we decided to go ahead and get it out of the way and give it a shot, and I'm really glad I did. It features 11 short stories, and some are more interesting than others. You get that with any short story collection, but I would say they were all really entertaining, if not the best I've ever read. Some were right up there as the best I've read. As I was reading the short story collection, I began to recognize stories that I already knew because I watched the first couple of seasons of Agatha Christie's Poirot on BritBox, and many of these short stories in this collection are featured in those first two seasons. So it was kind of interesting to see stories I'd already watched in story form, and I'd never read any of these stories before. I know that's not typically recommended that you watch the show before you read the book, but I did that, and that's totally okay. That's just how I did it. And I'm glad I did, honestly, because it helped me get a little bit more of a visual in my mind about what was happening. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I'll just quickly list the short stories for you here in case you're interested. And I'll tell you a little bit about them if they really stuck out to me. The first one is The Adventure of the Western Star. And the Western Star is kind of a rare and precious gem that's worth a lot of money, and a bit of thievery is involved, okay? And this one was really, really good. This one also shows up in Agatha Christie's Poirot on BritBox if you're wanting to watch the televised version of it. And so, yeah, this was a really, really good story, a great way to kick off the collection. Then there's The Tragedy at Marsden Manor. And this one was pretty good. I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I did enjoy it. The Adventure of the Cheap Flat. Now, this was quite interesting, and I had seen this on the BritBox version as well. This one involves a flat that would normally be really expensive, but turns out is being let out really cheap. That's kind of sketchy, right? And so Poirot and Hastings begin to investigate the mysterious occurrences around this really cheap flat. Then there's The Mystery of the Hunter's Lodge. Again, this is one that didn't blow me away, but I enjoyed it. The $1 Million Bond Robbery. This one was quite interesting because there's a lot of internal politics and a lot of people that could have easily stolen these valuable bonds. And then we have The Adventure of the Egyptian Tomb. I really enjoyed this one as well. This one takes place around the mysterious death of a gentleman who is believed to have been cursed by a long-dead Egyptian mummy. And so we get to find out some particulars about what exactly Hercule Poirot believes around the subject, superstitions and things like that. It's quite an interesting story. The Jewel Robbery at the Grand Metropolitan was also quite good, and it follows Poirot and Hastings, who happen to be at this really expensive hotel, and they run into someone who Hastings knows, and a very expensive piece of jewelry that is a prize of her collection goes missing. Then there's The Kidnapped Prime Minister. I think this one was probably my favorite one of all. And it's just like the title says. The Prime Minister of England gets kidnapped, and he's supposed to be at a large conference soon to speak on ending hostilities between different countries. And of course, the people who want the hostilities to continue, they have a vested interest in him not showing up. And so he goes missing, and it's really interesting how they get him back. I remember this one also from the BBC miniseries, and it's quite good. Then there's the disappearance of Mr. Davenheim, and that one was pretty good. I enjoyed it, but nothing spectacular. Then there's the adventure of the Italian nobleman. I quite enjoyed that one as well, although I got a little lost in that one as to what exactly was going on, so I had to go back and reread a little bit to make sure I had my bearings. But overall, it was a good story. And then there's The Case of the Missing Will. That's the final story in the collection, and it's kind of comical in a way because there's a young girl who decided to make her own way in the world instead of doing what a woman is expected to do at the time, to become a housewife and things like that. She decided she was going to get her education and make her way in the world, and her uncle is a real trickster and doesn't believe women should be doing that, and so he's determined to trick her out of his will, and things go awry. It's quite entertaining and quite interesting to see Agatha Christie's very modern take on women's rights there, and I thought that was awesome. So that is the end of the collection. There's 11 stories in all. As I said, some are better than others, but I really enjoyed myself overall. Most of them were good. Many of them were great. And so if I am going to be rating this, I would say I liked it. It gives me a big thumbs up, and I would encourage any mystery fan, especially any Agatha Christie fan, to read this book, and I hope you really enjoy it. So let me know in the comments below if you read this collection. Let me know what you thought of it. And let me know if you're an Agatha Christie fan at all, if you've ever read any of her stuff. And if you have, but you've never heard of this one or read it, let me know if you plan to pick it up. And until next time, guys, make sure you read more books. I'll talk with you soon. And I'd like to give a huge shout out to my patrons. I really appreciate all you do to support my channel.